whole metrics that work best. What's your take on it in the sense that would they be useful? Do you even want to invest time on tracking those metrics, or to your earlier point, they're so dependent on the business that you never know?
Well, metrics is necessary.
Okay.
Now, ultimately, from a business perspective, you do it for three reasons: cost avoidance, cost reduction, revenue generation. That's the three core drivers for business. Anything else you do anywhere in the business, somewhere needs to be connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you share knowledge, it is ultimately in the line of reducing costs, avoiding costs, or generating revenue.
Revenue, profitability. Okay.
The metrics for knowledge management can be challenging because managing something that's not written down, like getting experts to connect to each other, to share experiences, without writing it down, community of practices. Don't necessarily have to be online. They can be conference call based. But you get all the right people together, they exchange their experiences. That's a means of knowledge management. Well, what kind of metrics do you use there? The number of experts on a conference call. So some metrics in the knowledge management area are going to be intangibles, are going to be success stories, are going to be satisfaction surveys, those kind of things. The more tangible you can get, the better. It's how many documents are being used off the knowledge base, how many visitors on the portal, things that in some way or fashion you can measure. Usually around business intelligence, content management, those kind of things have tangible metrics related to it. So, and again, because knowledge management doesn't do anything by itself, you want to correlate that with metrics by the area you apply it to. So if you do it in the finance area, you do it in the sales area, you do it whatever else, you want to have the before and the after and the delta, you want to correlate back to your knowledge management activities on the tangible or intangible side.
So if we were to speak of, you brought up the point of documentation, how much has this document been used? You've invested a certain, so as knowledge management, you've invested 5-6 hours in creating one very good document. The metric for that you're saying is how much it has been used. On the quantitative side, there'll be a quality angle as well.
Yeah, it could be if you look at the sales area, opportunity, proposal management. Okay, it not necessarily, the success metrics there doesn't necessarily have to be how many proposal templates you have, but how many quality proposals that actually made successful sales do you have in there. So your metrics needs to be quality related, not quantity related. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and that's probably one of the areas where, because of the whole intangibility angle to it, it's a little difficult to define what quality is, right?
Yes. And that is where your stakeholder has to be involved to define what the quality, what the success criteria is. Your stakeholder may say, hey, if my customer fills out a survey, or my customers fill out a survey and their success, their satisfaction rate is 98%, and we were at 89 before, that is a success to the person. And it doesn't have to be anything in written form. It doesn't have to be it could be that the stakeholder says, if the customer is happy, I'm happy. I don't have to have a metrics per se. Well, in the satisfaction you have one again, but it comes from an intangible area. On the other side, if you optimize the processes to get salespeople better content, you put people in responsibilities to identify and actively promote these successful proposals, not just any proposal, but the successful proposals, and reapply them to the new sales processes, well, then you can actually count how many proposals were submitted and ended up in increasing your sales efficiency rate. And again, that brings back to the metrics depends on which area you apply it to. And then you correlate your knowledge management initiatives with it.